Yo, real quick. I want to talk about you probably saw the title already, so you know what I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to talk about my take on the KWAME Brown situation and what Kwame been saying. A lot of times I do want to, I don't know, not talk to oh, I just got a message. I be getting I see people on podcasts of so many different I see sports podcasts, I see, Snyder Cuts podcasts, all kind of shit like that. And I see a lot of not black power podcasts, but people talking about black society, what's going on in our life and, what's going on in the culture and shit like that. And I be wanting to chime in because a lot of times we say stupid shit and we think we be knowing that we know something is going wrong. We just don't really be knowing what it is. So we do a lot of speculating, and you see that a lot on I don't know what to call it, like urban podcasts, I guess. But now you see this dude Kwame Brown coming, and Kwame Brown, his platform is blowing the fuck up. His little YouTube channel, no set, no. Just like mine, he's recording off a cell phone right now. No microphone, no lights, no nothing. But he's blowing up because he's speaking some real shit. He's speaking some real shit that a lot of black people forget to talk about. He's speaking some real shit that a lot of black people don't talk about. A lot of black people, I don't want to say refuse to talk about it, but they can't talk about it. Kwame Brown is going not just after these particular sports people like Stephen A. Smith and, Steven Jackson and all of them, everybody else he's going at. He's going after a particular system that wants you to constantly think the black man is subpar. Now, you never hear me talk about none of this black man shit because that's a little indoctrination also. But no, not the black man shit, because I'm a black man. I mean, like all that, all that shit. Because the white people indoctrinate us with that feeling of black power anyway, because they want to make us into their little foot soldiers so we can always stand up and rebel. Remember, the key to a revolution is not a renaissance. They're not waking you up. They're not teaching you anything. They're just triggering the people who they know is gonna rebel. So they trigger black people the most because black people has this history, and whenever they see this history, they just get pissed off. Understandably. But we don't wake up and understand that we just being triggered over and over and over. But now, the reason I say that I don't hardly get into the black power shit is because black people got enough shit to fix on our own without constantly worried about our victim mentality, our victimhood mentality of like, the white man did this, the white man did that, the white man did all this shit, right? But I rarely talk about it, but that doesn't mean racism doesn't exist. Racism exists, and when I do talk about it, it's in a way that you don't understand because the people who we are worried, black people, we're worried about being racist like rednecks and KKK and all that shit, are not the people who's doing the racist activities in America. You just don't know it because it's flying above your head. The people who's doing the racist activity are the people who triggers you to help fight a revolution in the streets to go kill somebody else and destroy somebody else shit that they just don't like. Though the people who started Black Lives Matter are the people ruining the country. The people who make all these slave movies and try to trigger black people into revolution are the people destroying the country. They're doing it also with their own versions of racism, as in, destroying the nuclear family, something else Black Lives Matter has been talking about. But why was that been going on since like the 80s with Biden and Hillary and all them talking about doing it and putting us on the one family, one parent, a family welfare system, shit like that. That's destroying the nuclear family too. So this shit been going on. But we talking about sports. Now, if you look in sports, if you really watch sports, you would understand this. And I played sports all my life. I come from the deep South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. I've seen racism in my own teams, growing up in school. I've seen it. But on a bigger level, the people in my school, they were just indoctrinated into being racist by the people on TV. Y'all don't see how the people on TV make y'all racist. Y'all don't see how the people on TV continue the white supremacy, white superiority complex, because it's the people who's doing it are the people who you think are the good guys. So we'll watch. Let's just get straight into it. Kwame Brown talking about Stephen A. Smith and all this. Kwame Brown is 100% right. Stephen A. Smith tears down black people constantly. I try to listen to Shannon Sharp only now, but I like Shannon Sharp because he shows some love to black people enough. But there's also a subtle form of racism because they pair him off with like the white guy Skip Bayless, and they use him to be the kind of like the shucking and jiving black. Hey, Skip, blah, 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 blah. Skip, blah, blah, blah. There's more subtle forms of racism because Skip is a well-spoken white man who just sits back and looks at Shannon get all loud and talk dumb gibberish shit. But I still like Shannon. I fuck with Shannon sometimes, but Shannon still show love to black people. But Shannon be getting played too with this little Club Shay shit where Shannon, what are you talking about? I just want to say this real quick. Shannon, I fuck with you, but your podcast called Club Shay, where you do something after dark or some shit like that, dog. That just sounds like some fucking gay shit that white people done tricked you into fucking naming your podcast to make black men look more or less than a man. Naming yourself Club Shay, where you turn a trick after dark, sounds like a fucking female prostitute. Shannon, you work on that name, bro. Every now and then I fucks with you though. But Stephen A. Smith, hell no. ESPN, hell no. ESPN, y'all think they're the good guys. They are the most racist motherfuckers you will ever see. The most propagandized news channel you will ever see. They have destroyed so many black people's careers because black superiority. I'm not with none of the superiority shit because I don't believe in feeling racial superior. But you can tell ESPN does, and I've been saying it for years. Watch some subtle little ways you can see. Watch like the top 10 ESPN plays. You can see a black dude glide from the free throw line on the other side of the fucking court. Some crazy shit. Glide from the free throw line between the legs, lit a blunt, did a fucking windmill, East Bay Funk dunk, full length of the court. He'll be number 6 on the ESPN top 10. Number 1 will be Luka Doncic, do some between the leg dribble and shoot a 3. And they will make it like, oh my God, this was the greatest thing I've ever. And what's his name? Curry over there in Golden State. Curry been doing this shit nonstop. He does this every day, every minute. But when Luka does it, Luka looks like the greatest basketball player ever. They'll try to diminish when Russell Westbrook gets a triple-double. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, that was great. I love Russell Westbrook. He's good. But is he padding those stats? Or, they'll throw some little jab to hurt Russell Westbrook's credibility. But they'll make Luka, who did the same thing or less than Russell Westbrook, look like the greatest basketball player since fucking Larry Bird, who's also white, who was also not better than Magic Johnson. But to keep superiority in there. We've seen it Hank Aaron had to deal with it because Hank Aaron was usurping Babe Ruth, a white person. Tiger Woods has been dealing with it for the past 10 years because Tiger Woods is usurping a white person. What, Jack Nicklaus in golf? He has like, I don't know whether it was like 14 or 17 majors. And Tiger Woods, before he was going through his shit, Tiger Woods was about to rapidly demolish that nigga shit. But since golf, I don't know why I said wife. Since golf is a white person, quote unquote, sport, they can't let the king of golf be black. So Tiger Woods has been going through hell since then. Same with Barry Bonds. He's been going through hell when he was trying to break the records. Cam Newton was on track to demolish everything Tom Brady ever stood for. He started going through hell. All of a sudden, his offensive line don't want to block for him. The media destroys him, blah, blah, blah. We know how it goes. Michael Vick, we know what happened. Took 3 years of his prime for doing something, financing a dogfighting ring, which maybe he could have still been found innocent for. Who knows? But they turned the whole world against Michael Vick. We've seen it with Jameis Winston. He was, as a freshman in college, he broke every record ever in college football passing quarterback, and we know they didn't want black people to be quarterbacks. So, he was going to the NFL, and they had the FBI watch his ass every day, question him before every game. Imagine you trying to win a championship, you trying to play a game, and the feds watching you and questioning you over some white girl that may or may or not been true. If it was true, then I can understand it. If it was not, which it was found out it was not, looks like a bit of overkill, which probably added a lot more extra stress to Jameis Winston and didn't allow him to get a second championship. Then he goes into the NFL, starts on pace to break every record. He's a black quarterback. But then what do? They start shitting on him. Jameis Winston throws so many interceptions. That bitch also threw 5,000 yards. Nobody does that shit. But then when you look at some of his interceptions, it's just like Tampa Bay calls the same bullshit as out route all the time. Everybody knew they were going to do it or whatever. But then when you look at it, here's the subtle racism in there. So now you just replace him with Tom Brady and make it look like Tom Brady just fixed all the woes of Tampa Bay Buccaneers where a black quarterback couldn't do it. But they don't say Tom Brady just added AB to his team. Tom Brady just added Gronk to his team. Tom Brady just had a loaded team that Jameis Winston did not. Then Jameis Winston goes to New Orleans and has to sit behind dude in New Orleans. But he loses a year of his probably record-breaking career. When it's all said and done, Jameis Winston probably going to be first in passing yardage and everything. If he continues this rate he's going now, but he probably won't because he's a black quarterback and they're going to fuck with him. But then when you look at the Tom Brady situation, he shit on another black quarterback. And I saw this coming too. He shit on Cam Newton. Cam Newton went to the Patriots. Patriots didn't do shit. Why? Because there's a new white quarterback in the AFC East named Josh Allen. I knew Cam Newton wasn't going to do shit. Cam Newton was going to be a stepping stone for Josh Allen. It's just how the shit works. So not only did Tom Brady look so good and Bill Belichick looked so bad when he left, not only did he shit on, he looks better than Cam Newton, and because the Patriots went down, he also looks better than Jameis Winston because the Buccaneers went down. It's racism. Those are the subtle forms of racism now, because when you look at it now, Tom Brady looks like he's better than both of those quarterbacks, which I'm not going to say he is, because he's not. He's been set up to win more than those other quarterbacks. And that's what you got to look at when you see how they play it out. And I've seen it, and I've been talking about it a long time with fucking, I remember, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I remember EJ Manuel came to Buffalo, and our owner and GM why GM jumped over the coach and drafted EJ Manuel. The coach didn't want EJ Manuel. Doug Marrone wanted Ryan Nassib from Syracuse because he coached Ryan Nassib in college. He didn't want EJ Manuel. EJ Manuel was a black quarterback from Florida State. They got EJ Manuel. That team was loaded. It had EJ Manuel, fucking Sammy Watkins on one side, fucking Robert Woods on the other side. I think it was like Marshawn Lynch and CJ Spiller in the backfield. I mean, that team was loaded. They never allowed that team to play together. Doug Marrone never allowed that team to play together because we started out 2-1. And then EJ Manuel threw an interception to JJ Watt. And I think maybe lost the game. But that's 2-2. You don't get benched at 2-2 when you're a first round draft pick. He got benched because Doug Marrone didn't like him. Doug Marrone put in a white quarterback, Kyle Orton, who was nowhere near on the level of EJ Manuel. EJ Manuel and fucking, we had Stephon Gilmore on that team. EJ Manuel and Sammy Watkins in practice used to make Stephon Gilmore, and I love Stephon Gilmore. He's from South Carolina. They used to make him look like a nobody. They used to destroy Stephon Gilmore in practice. We couldn't wait to see what was going to happen in the NFL with these two. I think EJ Manuel and Sammy Watkins played together like 4 times. Or maybe a handful of times. You know, we had a game, and I think it was like the white people's ending to EJ Manuel's career. It was in England. And EJ Manuel stuck up the first half. Like 5 turnovers. I think 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. And that went on his record. But the second half, he came all the way back, down 35 points or some shit like that. And we could have won. But then at the very end of the game, they called a pass interference on Nikhil Roby, our defensive player, which put them in a position to get a game-winning field goal. And it wasn't pass interference. They didn't want EJ Manuel to come back on the biggest stage. That's what it was. They didn't want EJ Manuel to shine. They never gave EJ Manuel a fair shot in Buffalo. Never. And he had a squad. He had a super squad. But he's a black quarterback. That's how the shit works. It always worked like that. Fucking, what's the dude? RG3 came to the NFL, about to blow up the NFL. His first year. Shanahan kept running him even when they knew he was hurt in the last playoff game in Washington, and he broke his leg and never was the same again. Nobody talks about Shanahan just destroyed RG3's career. Nobody talks about that shit. Vince Young, nastiest black quarterback you've probably seen in a long time. He could run. He was unstoppable running. He just destroyed USC in college football. Unstoppable running. Unstoppable. His first year got him into the playoffs. I think they won a playoff game. He had a 75-yard run to win the game in overtime. He was unstoppable in running. You know what they did to Vince Young? They said, oh, man, you need to learn how to throw. Which made him stop trying to run and start trying to please the white guys to throw in the ball, which he was never the same. Should have just kept on running. We don't see the racism. The racism starts with these journalists. These journalists are bigger than the sports players, yo. Y'all think the sports player is making millions and millions. The sports player has an average of 4-year career. They come in and they go into oblivion. These journalists and these sports writers and these ESPN guys, they be here forever. They create the narrative that these journalists live in. Stephen A. Smith ran Stephon Marbury out of New York. Stephen A. Smith is black. Stephen A. Smith takes checks from white guys, though. He only gets to stay on TV as long as he toe the line what the white guys want him to say. There's subtle forms of racism that gets hit in your head every minute. You don't see it. But it forms how you act and how you think. When they put on these little slave movies and they get you watching all this bullshit, you know, what soon as the Democrats got back in office, we had a Fred Hampton movie. You know, how the fuck can they make a Fred Hampton movie? You know, that's what they do because they want you to see Fred Hampton's life, and then they want you to get mad at what happened to Fred Hampton, and then they want you to carry out what Fred Hampton was continuing to do. Destabilize the country with his indoctrinated Black Panther crew. It's no wonder there's a new Black Panther crew. All these thoughts are not new. They keep coming in your head by subtle forms of racism and white superiority on TV that you think are the good guys talking to you, but they're teaching you some bullshit and they're indoctrinating you in some bullshit. And KWAME Brown is going after them. So when you hear KWAME Brown talking about the boule, he's just talking about basically the house niggas on the plantation that does whatever massa tells them to do to make sure the field niggas always work, always stay in line. The field niggas never get an opportunity. Field niggas never blow up. Only the house niggas. Because if the field niggas get in, everything's fucked. Yeah, bitch!